Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of the Digital Commando Show. My name is Stefan Wesley, your Digital Commando, and joining me today for Tuesday Trends, I have some fantastic guests for you. Now, if you haven't seen Tuesday Trends before, then let's give you a little lowdown on what we're going to cover. The first thing we're going to cover is strategy, what strategies to use, and what is working for our guests at the minute. Then we'll go on to what content to create, and more importantly, why. And then finally, we'll get their top tips for social media success. So let's bring them into the room. Morning, Claire. Morning, Ian. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Some fantastic content to cover, and I'm sure we've got some fantastic insights for everybody watching today. For everybody who is watching, if you do have any questions for myself, Claire, or Ian today, then please do drop it in the comments, because that's all we ask. Ask questions, we'll get them answered for you. And if you know anybody that might miss the show but wants to catch it later, then please do tag them in the comments or share the whole stream with them so that they can watch it later on the replay. Pretty much that's all I'm going to go for me. But let's introduce our guest for today. So Claire, we're going to come to you first. Can you give everybody a bit of a lowdown as to who you are and what you do?
Hi, well, my name's Claire Stevenson, and the name of my business is Upright. I specialise in copywriting for small businesses. I did niche down to coaches, but I write for absolutely everybody. So I provide blogging, web copy, and regular social media content so people can reach a wider audience and sell more of their stuff to more people.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Claire. And Ian, over to you.
Hi, good morning. So my name's Ian Wright, the Social Ninja. I've kind of self-monikered myself because my agency is called the Social Ninjas. So we do we're a whole service digital agency, but our main focus is on social media marketing, social media management for all businesses, really. Don't niche down at all. I used to niche down to bars, clubs and restaurants before the pandemic, but that's kind of been wiped out for now. So it's any business, really.
Awesome. Cheers, Ian. So guys, if you've got any questions, then throw them in the comments and we'll get them answered by Claire, Ian and myself today. So guys, let's get stuck into it. We're going to talk about current strategy and focus first. Claire, we're going to come to you. Now, obviously, focus and strategy has changed quite significantly. Now, we are getting a little bit more information now as to maybe coming out of lockdown. I know the shops are due to open in a couple of weeks, which will be great. I know pubs and bars are probably still slightly behind that, but fingers crossed the bars will be open soon. Claire, what's currently working for you? What advice have you got to people looking for to create strategy while they're in lockdown still?
Well, I think one of the biggest difficulties for people, especially when we first went into lockdown, was that there was this fear that they shouldn't be marketing themselves. There was a bit of a negative backlash to people continuing to market, and people kind of withdrew from being so visible on social media. So my message to my clients was, you still have to keep showing up every day. Your message might have changed and you might need to adapt your message for your clients, especially if you're doing a physical service that you aren't able to provide anymore. Shops are closed, restaurants are closed, but you still need to kind of keep that presence and let people know what you're doing and when, and who you are. So with my clients, we've used this time to talk more about who we are, what's important to us, and helping our audience get to know us. I think, lots of people did shrink away from social media, but those people who just stopped marketing altogether will kind of be on the back foot when things start reopening again. Now, I'm in Wales and we're still in lockdown and we don't know when things are going to start opening. So I've been working with my clients to use this time to look at what wasn't working before, look at what was working, and kind of put plans in place so that we can really ramp up the visibility over the next couple of weeks and months.
I just muted myself. I was just typing, so we're going to ask you the questions. Now, you've covered some really good points. One of the things is I noticed that massively, that there was a lot of stigma around people advertising their services when we first went into lockdown. Some people were saying if you're selling things like courses, you're taking advantage of the situation. I know that we got a little bit of backlash from our academy, which was in build for like 12 months before we even heard of coronavirus. So no, it is really difficult for people, but I think it is having that confidence to go out there, continue to sell. There's absolutely nothing wrong with selling your products, especially while we were still in lockdown. It's not a problem. You're still in business. We're not running charities. It's great to give advice. We might talk about that when we talk about content in a little bit. But yeah, absolutely, people should be completely going out there and continuing to sell their services. I think that's a really good way to look at especially how you're working with your clients at the minute, Claire, as well, looking at how they can improve their current strategies. We're very, very data focused as well. So as an agency, we're definitely, everything we do is built on data. So having that time to kind of sit back, and it's the old 80-20 rule, isn't it? Being able to focus on the business rather than in the business. And we've seen a lot of businesses adapt and change over the last few months, which has been great. And actually some of them are going to come out significantly stronger, which is fantastic. Ian, we're going to come over to yourself now. What strategies are you working with on your clients, and what's working for you at the minute?
Yeah, okay, so some good points there by Claire as well. I won't have to go over those, which is perfect. She's absolutely right in what she's saying about putting themselves out there. They still need to be doing it. Personally, my strategy changed completely since the pandemic kicked in, really. That was a position that was kind of forced on me because, as I said earlier, a lot of my clients were bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. And that was kind of through my choice because it was a lot of my background. So basically, literally overnight, I lost 75% of my client base because they were just forced to shut, forced to close. So personally, I had to readjust everything I was doing. And for me, that's been a great learning curve for starters. So I've upskilled myself, which is something I've been trying to do all the time anyway, but it's been a slow process. So now I've managed to fast track that. So I gave myself a lot of time. I didn't go chasing any new clients for about 6 weeks. So my strategy basically changed from managing clients with a very slight emphasis on bringing in new clients, but now it's completely turned on its head, and I'm now back into client acquisition mode for my agency, but I'm also doing a different strategy for the clients that I'm getting now. So I'm trying to bring on board what I would class as higher quality clients. No disrespect to some of the clients I had in the past, but there is a level of client that if you're a full service agency that you want to work with somebody on a long-term basis, they have to be, it's got to be sustainable. So they have to be able to afford to pay you. So you need that sort of higher quality client. So to get them and to make sure that I keep them and to help all the clients that I've already got and had and kept through this as well, I've created a different style of strategy. So I've now got kind of what I call a three-pronged or three-phase strategy. So the first phase, this is for my clients, being quick gains and quick wins. Because as you'll know, as an agency owner, when a new client comes on board, they always think that you're going to make them millionaires overnight through social media, which is not going to happen unless they're going to chuck a massive amount of money into ads or something. So I try and work on some quick wins with them, and that's usually pretty easy because most clients, you can get quick wins just by sorting out the social media they've already got, optimizing all their social accounts, because mostly as a business owner, what they'll do is they'll open a business page on Facebook, for example, or they'll be told by everybody else, you need a business page. So they open a business page, stick a few bits of some photos on it, and they think, right, I've got a business page, that's it. Where's all my clients? So obviously I optimize all the social media and then go for some quick wins, so get some extra likes to the page, but those being their target market likes rather than a broad sort of, let's get 10,000 likes. Maybe run some ad campaigns to get targeted likes to the page so that when I move into the next phase, which is a content strategy for them, looking at client acquisition for them, getting more leads, that kind of thing. And then a longer term strategy for them so that hopefully I can keep them long term would be to manage their content long term, manage some of their client onboarding as well. And then, but I've got to manage their expectations along the way. I usually tell them you might get some really fast, quick wins, but then it's going to be a slow burn after that. It's social media, as you'll know, takes time to build unless you're putting lots of money into it. And I would say most of the clients that are coming on are not really putting any ad spend into it. So it's all organic. So you've got to look at a long-term strategy hopefully with some kind of ads attached to the back end of it later on as well. So the focus for me kind of changed, but it's been good in a way because now my onboarding system is so much better. In the past, I was ridiculous. I would go and see a client and do a face-to-face onboarding with them, and they might be 400 miles away, and it was just, I loved it, and it was great, seeing the whites of somebody's eyes. It certainly increases respect and mutual admiration, but it's time-consuming and it's difficult. So now all my onboarding is done via Zoom and things like that. You can still work very closely with people over a video as we're doing right now.
Absolutely, 100%. No, you covered loads of really good points. I think that it is a good time to refresh clients. I know that some people, you got somebody typing next to them. Keep hearing it clicking. It might be the headphones or something. Stop that. All right, let's go check. The onboarding side is obviously really, really good, and I think when we're looking at our internal processes, that's really important now as well, because if we can optimize those when we come out of lockdown, obviously the whole transition is going to be so much better, and it can be done remotely. And I know we switched over to doing remote onboarding a few years ago, which was quite convenient for us when we kind of went into this. So we decided to do something a little bit different, a bit weird at the time, and we sent all of our clients, because my theory was that if I've got a client in London, I've got to go and do an onboarding, and I'm in Leamington Spa, that's going to take me pretty much the day wiped out. Down to South East London, 3 hours onboarding, 4 hours back from London, if you're lucky. So yeah, it wiped out so much time. So I thought, how can I really optimize my time on this? So we sent out VR headsets to every single one of our clients. And then we gave them like a little bit of a demo of this is how you set it up. And then we would do all of our onboarding, like avatar to avatar, but we had like a whiteboard that we could go through everything with. And it was so clever. But we did figure out that the only difficulty was you had to have two people. One person actually on the VR having the conversation, and then somebody next to you watching the conversation to take notes, because you can't take notes with a VR headset on. So there was a slight overlap on that, which was quite good. But it'd be great to hear more about the content, which we'll go on to in a minute, because it's definitely not our area of expertise. We don't do any organic side of stuff. We purely focus on the ads, which is kind of what we're all about, really. Let's jump on that. Oh, actually, before I do that, let's pull in a question. So we've got a question from Sarah Gibson. Do you think your strategies will change again, if at all, after lockdown? Interesting question. Claire, come over to you first. That's right.
Do I think my strategies will change? No, because I think the strategies that I've used with my clients will, they're all about, because like Ian said, is, social media content and all your marketing is about the long game. And it's about telling your clients, who you are, what you do, what's important to you, what type of person you are, and kind of building those commonalities. So, do your clients, do you have something in common with each other? Will you enjoy working together? Will you both, work together well to achieve the end result? So when I create copy for my clients, it's very much values and principles based, and it's storytelling, not selling. And people that I do hate it, it's really cliche, people buy from people and people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. But it's true. You don't hand your money over to strangers, you don't hand the future of your business over to people you don't know, and you don't do business with people you don't like. So for me, it's very much, show up as you are and tell people who you are. And I think there's a reason that as a nation, we're so obsessed with things like Gogglebox, the Kardashians, Big Brother, Love Island, and all those reality shows, because as human beings, we're morbidly nosy and we do want to know how other people live and what they're like and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I think
Love
using your
Gogglebox.
social media marketing as a tool to kind of invite people into your life and into your space, they can decide a lot quicker if they want to work with you. And it's also about that trust building. You know, they can decide if you're their type of person, and if you're their type of person, they want to do business with you. And if, you know, I saw a guy yesterday post something about DC, and I thought, I don't agree with that at all. I don't want to work with you. So, you know, it's funny how we make those decisions really quickly. So no, I don't. I think my strategy will kind of, you know, it's adapted in as much as it's not selling, it's consolidation and building audience. But I think in theory and principle, going to carry on doing the kind of the trust building and the relationship building.
I totally agree. And I think this is the way that content should be structured anyway. Like if you go to any of our client pages, you'll never see a sales ad, because our personal strategy is that we don't want any sales ads on their pages. We think of it as like a bit of a shop window, although shop windows do have kind of sales ads in. We just use it as a time to build that trust, build rapport, show products, yeah, of course, but not necessarily go, right, buy it now. Obviously, there's ways and means of re-engaging with the people that are interested. But yeah, it's one of the biggest keys to the sales process is people will buy when they know, like, and trust you. And this is a great opportunity to do that, especially for people that may be not in a position to sell right now, which is really good. So yeah, totally, 100% agree with that. Ian, what's your answer for Sarah Gibson?
Yeah, I think what you said there about the know, like, and trust factor with your strategy, that's a given anyway, obviously. But I think strategies will change, but probably, well, for two reasons. One, because we've come up with better strategies, so we adapt and we evolve anyway. But I think because Facebook at the moment is undergoing such a massive change and a massive revamp, social media marketing will kind of have to change just to adapt to the new stuff that's coming on board. A good friend of mine who's far more intelligent than me when it comes to digital marketing and social media, he said, and I was really struck by what he said. He said the last 2 months has forced a 10-year spiral forward in digital media and e-commerce and things like that. And when you look at the likes of Shopify, I always get them two mixed up. Yeah. When you look at Shopify, I was watching Mark Zuckerberg on his live the other day when he was rolling out the new features, the Facebook shops and everything. And he had the founder of Shopify on, and he said the same thing. He said it's basically we've evolved Shopify faster over the last 2 months than we have in the last 10 years. So I think strategies will change because of those things. You know, like Zuckerberg's rolled out, you know, split screen lives and things like that. So a lot of my customers, I kind of, I wouldn't say force them to go live, but I try and get them to do lives and things like that. So now I'll be saying to them, you know, do a live, but arrange it and get one of your clients or friends or your co-workers to be available and bring them on the live with you and do a split screen live, which obviously we couldn't do a few months ago. So we're just adapting because of that, really, you know, a sort of organic adaptation as it comes.
Yeah, and I think that works really, really well. And it goes back to what you said, Claire, earlier about people buy from people. Now, being able to actually transmit your personality and things across, and I think lives is a great way to do it. Obviously, so being able to do the lives is a great, fantastic part of strategy. And it's going to be really exciting what comes out of Facebook with obviously the new developments in shops and things like that. So they've completely cut out lots and lots of people. I think people like ClickFunnels, a lot of the people like that are going to suffer because Facebook are bringing it all in-house, which I think will work really well. So yeah, it's exciting time. Okay, let's go on to our second point of the day. We're going to talk about content creation and what content to create and why. Now, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, so I'm not going to speak because there won't be anything left. So we'll go to Claire first. Now, it's definitely obviously a subject that you're very, very prominent in. So tell us a bit more about the content that you would you suggest or advice for people, and why to create that kind of content?
So I think for me, when I do my onboarding with clients, I've got quite quite a chunky form, an onboarding process that they need to fill in, and then we have a call and we chat through it. And I've always done that remotely, just because not a big fan of interacting with people other than the people that I work with. Not that I hate people in general, just quite a few people. But what we focus on then is kind of answering those big questions that people have. So they want to know what you do, how much it costs, how will they know if they need it, what difference can it make for them, and they also need to see that that you're speaking to them. So it's identifying and empathizing with those different pain points and the experiences that they're going through, so that when they read your content, they feel like, oh yeah, that's written about me, or that was written for me. And it kind of draws them in, but answers all those questions as well. Because I think, how will I know I need it is a really, it's a really big one. So the kind of, are you feeling like this? Is this happening to you? So it's a lot of empathy in the content that we create, empathizing with the clients and empathizing with the target audience. But a lot of it then, like I've said already, it's going back to the storytelling. So it's a kind of, I know what your problem is. I understand how it makes you feel, and I can help you solve it. I can help you solve that problem. And then storytelling helps your audience understand your journey and why you do what you do, and why you are the person that they would choose to work with. So there's a lot of personality. When I work with my clients, I, like Ian says, he encourages his clients to do lives and show up. And it's really funny because people will often make the decision about whether they want to work with you just by the sound of your voice or by what your hair looks like. There's really, they'll decide really quickly if they want to work with you or not. I do a lot of lives because I know that if people are turned off by a Welsh accent, then they're not going to enjoy working with me. And I encourage my clients to show up everywhere as themselves, kind of warts and all, because if someone doesn't like your online presence, then they're not going to enjoy working with you in the long term. But also, if you're kind of showing up and you're putting on a bit of an act on your kind of social media channels, and then that's not kind of congruent with who you are when they actually come to speak to you, there's a big loss of trust straight away, because it'll be like, well, this is not the person that I was having a conversation with online, so it's kind of showing up as yourself everywhere and storytelling over selling for us.
I really like that. I think it's interesting to say that answering questions is quite a key one. Now, answering questions, I really like this, and I see how many people do it wrong at the same time as many people do it right. And I think the way you've described it is the perfect way to do it. But we see, like, if anybody looks at the frequently asked questions on our website, and it's got like, so why are you the best? No one's ever asked that question. Like, just don't put the questions in the blow your own trumpet. Genuinely answer the questions that the customers are asking and genuinely answered, because then you're adding value to the customer, rather than can I find it cheaper? Well, yeah, probably, but it's not relevant, is it? So it's just, I think that's something for a lot of companies to be careful with if they're not working with a strategist or someone, just to make sure they're answering those real questions. And the best way to find them questions, ask your audience. Literally, say, what questions do you want answered, and then build content around that. It's a really good way to do it. I think I absolutely love the stories, and I think you're so right about being transparent. I've spoken about this before. I think it's for two reasons I find. Now, number one, yeah, exactly what Claire said there. If you're not being transparent, and then when people meet you, you're very different, instantly the trust is gone. Someone's not going to buy from you at that point. But at the same time, if you're consistently doing that, it's tiring. It's really, really tiring to pretend to be somebody else all the time. So don't do it. I've said that I could run around in a suit trying to be the Wolf of Wall Street a couple of years ago. It wasn't me at all. I much prefer baseball caps and hoodies. Like it's just a bit more me, and it gets tiring. So Jeff, I think that uniqueness is really good. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. We love your Welsh accent, and hopefully people don't judge them too much on the hairstyles, because I've got proper lockdown hair under here. So that is getting sorted.
Haven't we all?
An absolute mess. I am not turning my head. So yeah, I think it's about getting out there and people that want to create content. And Ian spoke about lives later on. It's very much just get out there and do it. Don't be afraid that one person's not going to like you, because for every one that doesn't, there'll be 10 that do. So I think there's a lot of fear factor, and I don't want people to be scared to go out. And if the people aren't paying your bills, don't care what they think.
Exactly.
Ian, over to you. So what content to create and why? What's your advice to people?
Okay. First of all, lockdown hair. I let my missus go with the clippers the other day. I did have long hair. Never mind. So I have spent over the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time and effort sort of looking into content and what works and what doesn't work for different industries. And I kind of teach that, or I was teaching it before all this happened. So I totally agree with Claire's concept about the know, like, and the trust, and building that and being authentic and being congruent with your audience and all that. So I'll talk about more of the technical side of things. So with content, the first thing I say to anybody anyway is it's different. It should be different depending on what industry you're in. Obviously, as an agency, we work with many, many industries. I think at the moment I'm working with about 20 different types of industry, and have done a lot more in the past. So you've got to take a different approach for every industry. However, there are certain types of content that work right across the board, and that does change, and it's going to change again shortly when Facebook, for example, put their emphasis more on stories and things like that. So what I kind of say is there's a few rules to start out with first. First of all is try and create a content plan, because if you just go blindly ahead with no plan as a business owner, you're going to get lost in all the noise anyway, because you've got so much else going on. And what I've found with a lot of my people that I work with, that I'm not managing their content, what I see is they put up an amazing piece of content, don't engage with it, and then forget about it for 2 weeks, and then put something else up that's completely irrelevant, and there's no kind of follow on or flow to it all. So a content plan is the first thing that anybody should do, and the content plan really needs to focus on things like the what, as in what content am I going to put out, where am I going to put the content, as in what social media channel, who is my target audience, so who am I talking to when I put this content out, and what is my kind of end game, because every business has got a different end game. Not everybody's selling, even though they're in business. Some people might have a service, some people might just want more likes and followers, so they need to know what their end game is. And then I try and use an 80-20 rule, so all the content's not pushing their kind of sales process down people's throats. Obviously they have to sell at some point, especially if they sell a product. There needs to be at some point in the content conversation, they need to sell that product, so that needs to be sort of put in as well. So the main content that I'm focusing on at the moment with my clients, and this isn't in probably not in the right order, but story content. So we're focusing a lot more on stories, and that's on Instagram and on Facebook now as well. The engagement and the traction that stories get is just massively outweighs organic content that you're putting into a news feed. So I try and get all my what I'll say to my clients is I'll try and post something into your story a couple of times a week. However, I would love you to be posting something into it every single day. Mainly their first reaction to that is, oh, well, what am I going to post and how am I going to post it? So I kind of guide them a little bit. Sometimes it's easy. If it's somebody who runs a shop, doing a story content every day is dead easy. One photograph and a couple of lines of text and a couple of emojis and it's sorted. But if they can post something every day into a story, as you know, stories last 24 hours, then they basically have a permanent story running. So I try and get them to do this. The next thing I say is engagement style content. So within the 80-20 rule, 80% of the content needs to be outside of them trying to sell and promote. So they need to come up with 80% of their content of what they're going to come up with. So I say to them, try and use what I class as engagement style content. So something that elicits engagement. So the obvious ones are ask questions. Now, it doesn't have to be them asking a question. If they go and search on Google or whatever, there's hundreds of competitions out there that are done in like storyboard forms and things like that. But it kind of elicits questions from their customers and their clients and their followers. And then the next thing to do then is, once that engagement starts to come in, is to make sure they are then re-engaging with that as well. So that's one of the things we do for all our clients. And it can be quite onerous. I actually have one member of my team, literally this is their only job. They just reply to comments. So, you might think, well, there's not going to be that many comments. Sometimes I can put one post out for a customer, and if it's a funny, engaging story that's looking for answers, it'll get 100 or 200 comments. So then if we re-comment to that, that's doubled the comments. As soon as you re-comment, you'll know that Facebook then pushes the reach even further, which obviously gets more comments. So that kind of engaging post, as we call them, and there's hundreds of those. I've got sort of lists of those. So if anybody wants any of those, I'll be quite happy to share those about. And there's tons of places they can look to get those as well. If they can loosely tie them in with their industry, even better. That's even better. So that would, and then the main one for me is video. This is, I say it's the main one, but it's also the hardest one to get your customers to do, because people are inherently shy. And it's quite difficult to stick a phone in front of your face and start talking. So I kind of try and make it easy for them, and I give them other ideas to do video. So I say that if you can get in front of a camera, as in your phone or whatever. I mean, everybody's got a mobile phone now, and everybody can go live on Facebook or any of their other social media channels. If they've got the confidence and the aptitude to do that, then amazing. Do that, because that's going to win hands down every time. However, if they don't, then I say, well, do a pre-recorded video, because then even if you make any fluffs or mistakes, you can redo it or whatever. However, fluffs and mistakes are the best thing to put out there, because it shows that you've been authentic, shows you've been real and true and all the rest of it. I say to them, don't worry about all these fancy graphics and, putting logos on and doing subtitles. If you can't do it or you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. Because if people want to engage with you as a customer, they will turn the sound on. Don't worry about it too much. So I try and get them in front of the camera. If not, get them to record some content. If they can't do that, then I say, well, then go and find somebody else's video, share it to your page, as long as it's in line with your message and what you're doing. Or you could create videos, as you'll know, go on Facebook in Creator Studio. You can create a video from some of the photos that you've got from your, if you're a shop and you've got products, you can create a video from those products and that kind of thing. But getting it into video format, then obviously Facebook's going to favor it in the algorithm, as is YouTube and as is Instagram and all the rest of it. So they're the kind of three main ones that I kind of get people to try and do, and it's the ones that we focus on as well. So that's kind of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely amazing. I think you start off there talking about content plan, and I think this is really key that people forget. My theory is always, you never get into a taxi and just go, off we go then, driver, without telling them what the destination is and what your end game is. So having a clear structure, a quote from the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the highly effective habits is start with the end in mind. So figure out what your goal or your end game or your... So it doesn't have to necessarily be a sale, like Ian said. It could be a lead generation. It could just be the engagement to create that pot of people to re-advertise to later. So have the end goal in mind and then work your way backwards. Totally agree with that. It's really good. Obviously, focus on, replying is such a big thing. People forget this. They put something out and then go, out there now and then don't reply to anything. Now, this became so pivotal to me years ago when I didn't even work. I wasn't even in the industry yet. And I was working for a automotive company, and we went and had a meeting with Mercedes where they were doing VIP cars for Mercedes. So if you get famous, they give you a free car, basically. Now, what they had is they had a celebrity in the car that had an accident or something, manufacturer's issue, so it wasn't the driver's issue. And that, because it was after 5 p.m. where this had happened and the social media person had gone home, they'd obviously taken to social media, had a rant, which had gone absolutely viral by the morning. Whereas if they had somebody monitoring that, they could have jumped on it quite quickly and saved themselves a lot of embarrassment and probably quite a lot of money. So yeah, absolutely make sure that people are doing that. And if you haven't got time to do it because you're just busy at work, then find somebody like Ian that can do it for you, because that is really good. And then, yeah, video. I love video. Obviously, I'm on video every single day. Absolutely great. Do it live because you get more mistakes when you're live, and they're fun and people like it. For everybody who's been watching the show for a while, my microphone actually works now. But where you get one good thing and the other thing doesn't work, now my camera is rubbish. So my lights have all blown up. But the lights will be back and the new camera is getting set up for next week. So we'll fix that. But yeah, it's just all a bit of fun. Everybody who's watched the show knows that the microphones that I've had here have never, ever worked. They were just there for show because I thought they looked cool. But actually, just a bit of an idiot. It's funny. But yeah, just all these little bits of comedy. If you fall off the chair or do something silly, people find it funny. It's just the real you. And I think coming across authentic is one of the most important things on video anyway. So yeah, absolutely great points there, Ian. Right. What we're going to do, we've got a few minutes left. We're going to fly through our top tips for social media success. So Claire, we're going to come to you first. What are your top tips for social media success?
Okay, tip number one, be yourself everywhere, all the time. Like I say, it takes so much more energy and it's much harder to create social media content if you're trying to be something you're not. So just show up as yourself. And like you said about the accidents, you know, there's a reason people love You've Been Framed. It's because we like watching people make mistakes, fall over and get hurt. So just be yourself everywhere, all the time. My second one is don't expect everyone to like you or agree with you. And if they don't, that's okay. And your content serves, you know, it's got two functions, is to attract the people you want to work with, but also to repel the people that you don't want to work with. So if people don't like you and they're vocalizing that, great, you can tick them off. They'll never be a client. You haven't got to worry about their opinion. And my last one's a bit different to Ian's approach, but I would encourage my clients not to get hung up on likes and comments. Likes and comments don't pay the bills. You can't buy stuff with them. You know, I accept the fact that they do help with visibility, but I think we should focus on consistency, repetition, and posting useful, informative, and valuable content for our clients, so that, you know, we're being helpful and positioning ourselves as experts and people who solve problems. So that's my 3 tips.
Absolutely great. Yeah, I think it is. Be yourself. Absolutely key. Not everyone's going to be liked. Deal with it. Go over it. Who cares if I don't know, Johnny 123 doesn't like your video?
Haters hate.
Yeah.
And yeah, consistency. Consistency is one thing. We haven't mentioned it today, but consistency is the reason why the show is on every day at 11 a.m. because it's consistent and we stick to that every day. And if a guest says, "Oh, do you know what? I'd love to come on the show, but I can't do it till 1," doesn't work. The show has to be consistent. And I think this is something key with your social media. Now, what most people will forget is, although you might not think people are watching your content, you'd be really surprised how many people do see your content, don't comment, don't like it, because everybody will have known when they've gone down the pub and they chat with one of their mates they haven't seen in ages and they go, "Oh, I saw some of your stuff." Well, you didn't like to comment on it, did you, mate?
Exactly.
Lots more people are seeing stuff than you actually realise. So yeah, do be aware of that. Ian, we're going to come over to you for your top 3 tips for success.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say about the consistency thing. It does definitely work. It worked for me. When I lost most of my clients in April, I was at a little bit of a loss, And I just made a decision. I decided to do a live every day in April. And I went live every day in April. I think I missed 2 days. I was doing little trainings or screen shares. I was just talking about crap, basically. But when I put what I found, and this wasn't planned, but what I found was when I put an offer out at the end of it, I picked up 5 new clients, and 3 of them said, "Oh yeah, well, I've been watching you, I've seen all your lives." And I'm like, "Oh, right, okay." So that came from that consistency. So yeah, if you can be consistent. Anyway, so yeah, sorry, my 3 top tips. I could probably give 100 tips quite easily. So putting the top 3 is really difficult. But my 3 is, and I've already spoke about all of these anyway. The first one would be, make sure that with your content you're putting out, use the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule is, as we've said, 80% of your content shouldn't be trying to sell your services or sell your products or market yourself or whatever. So 80% is just engaging, fun, informative, newsworthy content. That might make you think a lot harder about what you're going to put out, but it'll pay dividends in the end. And what I found is when you do put the other 20% out, you'll get a better return. Whereas some of the clients I've picked up in the past, first thing I'll do is I'll do an audit on their page and I'll go back through the last 3 months of their content. And if they've just been promoting all their business services one after the other, generally I've found they've not picked up any new business. So it definitely works. So that's my number 1. Number 2 is to make sure that you do create a content plan. Because if you just go blindly ahead, firing out content, there'll be no sort of cohesiveness to it, and you'll find that you'll come to a point where you think, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's working, I don't know what isn't working, I can't remember what I've talked about, I can't remember what I've posted. So I say create a plan. You don't have to stick to it 100%, but if you've got a plan, and the plan is, what are you posting, where are you going to post it to, who are you posting about, or who are you talking to, who's your audience, and then what is your end goal, what are you trying to sell, what are your products, where are you going at the end of it, so what's the goal. Once that plan's in place and you're kind of doing all them, yep, jab, jab, hook, absolutely. Once you're doing all of those, throwing out the odd bits of content, off the hook is not a problem then, because it'll kind of fit in with it. So the story stuff you can just do ad hoc, because obviously the story is what's going on at that point in time. And then my third one would be, and part of that one is to make sure you're engaging as well. So engage with your clients, with any comments. The main reason I say to engage is, and I know this is difficult because it's time consuming, is one comment will almost quadruple the reach on a post, probably a lot more. So another few more bits of engagement, your post will explode. The amount of people who say they post all the time and they get no engagement, but they don't get any reach, well, there is a pattern they have to follow. So my third one would be to know what your goal is, know what your end goal is, and then them other things, the plan and everything else leads towards that goal. And for some people, it's very obvious what their goal is, but I've got a lot of clients who don't really know what their end goal is. So they've got to work out what their end goal is. If you run an online shop, your end goal is pretty obvious, to sell products in your shop. However, that might not be the ultimate end goal, because you may have upsells, cross sells, and other things you can kind of, leverage along the way as well. So know what the end goal is. And once you've got the end goal, work your way back, and a lot of the content will fall into place then.
Absolutely. So fantastic tips here. I'm going to throw mine in. So my ones, I'll keep them nice and quick. I never run out of time. Number 1, repurpose content. You don't have to do a different post for every different platform all the time. 1 hour video. There's a content deck that I've done somewhere. So if anybody wants to let me know. But there's a way, easy way. Spend 1 hour creating video in the morning and then repurpose that content. And you've got like 22 posts across platforms for the whole day. You don't need to be thinking of what to post all day long and spending loads of time. So repurpose content. Number 2, when you're going to put out any content, make sure it adds value. Everything. We push this so hard. John's put a comment in, Ian saw a minute ago, jab, 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 right hook from Gary Vee's book. Absolutely. Add value with the jab, jab, jab. Content. value, value, value. And then when you've built up enough rapport, people understand you, they know, like, trust you, then that's when you come in with the right hook and you close them and you sell them something. Might sound a bit vulgar to some people, but that's how it works. So before you post any content, ask yourself the question, what value does that add to your customers? And then number 3, and I'm going to preach because everybody knows what I'm going to say, use Facebook advertising because it's never been so cheap. If you haven't been doing it for the last 2 weeks, you haven't listened to me, you've lost money already, but there is still time to do it. Get into Facebook advertising. There's a fantastic opportunity right now. It's not going to last forever. As soon as we're out of lockdown and everybody else starts spending money, then you've got higher competition. And when Facebook start giving their grants out to the UK, you're fighting against people that have got free money. So why would you want to do that? So my other thing is get into Facebook advertising. If anybody doesn't know how to do it, there's a fantastic academy online. It's launched on the 15th. Can't remember the name of it, but it's really, really good. That's my only sales pitch for the day. Guys, you've been absolutely great. Thank you very much for your top tips. Finally, before we go, if you can, we're just going to quickly fly around the room. We're going to come to you first, Claire. Can you just remind everybody, for anybody that joined late, who you are, what you do, and how people can get in contact with you, more importantly?
So I'm Claire Stevenson. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I create copy, mostly social media and web copy for businesses who want to grow their audience and sell to more people.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Claire. And Ian?
Yeah, my name's Ian Wright, the Social Ninja, and I run an agency called the Social Ninjas, and we do social media marketing and management for any business in the UK.
And how do people get in touch with you?
Just go on Facebook, look for Ian Wright, the Social Ninja. Cool. You'll find me.
Happy days. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. That was a show absolutely ram-packed, full of knowledge bombs for people. So, like we say to everybody who's watching, all you need to do is like, share it, and share it with somebody who you feel will benefit from the tips that we've given today. If they're not going to benefit, don't share it with them. Just share it with the right people. So guys, thank you once again for joining me. For everybody who watched the show, we'll be back tomorrow with Web Wednesday. So again, normal time, 11 a.m. and some more fantastic guests. For everyone tuned in, thank you very much. And guys, thank you very much for joining me. And that is the end of show dance.